Hey guys, this is AJ Unlimited here to bring you another video. This one I'm going to be doing a video talking about the Disney College program, which I participated in pretty much the entire last half of last year of 2016. And I thought I would do a video talking about it because, I figure there's a lot of people out there who have a lot of questions about it, and I have answers. And I'm sure you guys, if you're contemplating doing the program or what have you, hopefully this video will tell you everything you need to know about it, or at least most of the things you need to know about it, because it was a very interesting experience for me, and it was definitely very life changing. It was probably the most life changing experience in my life. So I don't know how long this video is gonna be. I'm just gonna start talking about it. Basically, my entire experience from start to finish, and hopefully you'll get something out of it. And of course, I'm open to any questions you guys have if you want to post them in the comments or whatever. Before I begin, I just want to say that my experience was totally 100% unique to me and like my life and who I am and stuff. So don't take anything good or bad out of context. This is just like 100% my personal experience based on the job I had and the roommates I had, and etc. So don't like take one negative experience I mentioned and let that be the reason why you don't participate, because one person's absolute horrible experience can be another person's awesome experience. So just take everything I have to say with a grain of salt. I applied for the program. First of all, I actually wasn't planning on doing the program. We went to Disney. My family and I, we have this tradition where every single summer we go around for like 2 weeks, and we camp in the campground Fort Wilderness, and we just do our thing, go to all the parks and drink and have a good time, do all kinds of cool stuff. And there was one night in the last year, not last year, 2 years ago in 2015 when we went, and we were in Epcot. There was some guy who was talking about the program. My dad was having a conversation with him talking about it, and then he was just saying how he was describing, basically he was describing to us what the program was. And my dad was like, "Man, you should give that a try, Alex. Like, what, you should do that." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't really know. Like, that doesn't sound like something I'd really want to do." But my sister, who's like a huge Disney fan, she was all over the idea. She's like, "Yeah, like, just hell yeah, like live in Disney, work for Disney, like this and that. Sounds like a grand old time." And I was a little apprehensive about it. I wasn't really sure if it was for me or if I wanted to do it. And keep in mind, this was in August, I think, of 2015. So flash forward in January of 2016, the applications were up for that fall, for the fall that I did it. My sister applied for it, and I think by this time I had pretty much decided why not? I have nothing to lose. I'm not really going to school for anything too specific. So I was like, you know what, screw it. It's gonna be a good experience. I'll get to live in Disney. It'll be my first time ever living away from home. So I'll probably, grow a few hairs on my chest. So we both apply for it, and we both end up. So the application process is, it's like in a regular job application. If you ever applied for one, it's like you do all your personal information, your email, your phone number, all that jazz. You do all your previous work experience, your education experience, all that stuff. Once you're through with just the application process, they do an online survey thing or interview, and then after that, if you pass that whole thing, then you schedule for a phone interview. That's pretty interesting. I was a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time, I didn't really care too much if I got in, so I wasn't as nervous. It's just like, it's kind of like a regular interview for a job, but it's a little more intimidating because it's Disney, and that's like about, probably I'd say, 20 to 30 minutes. At least that's how long mine was. And then you find out, I think I found out like a week or two later that I was accepted. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then you find out where you're gonna be working, which I ended up in food service. You find out where you're gonna be working. You find out how much you're gonna be paid, which was, I think most people, is $10 an hour. That's how much I got paid. And then at some point, you choose the apartment you want to stay in and like the roommates you want to have and stuff. You have to choose between the Commons, Vista Way, the Patterson Court, and Chatham Square. And of course, I got Commons. I ended up in the Commons with, there's five of us total, so I had four roommates. and I had random people because I have no friends. And then we did our usual thing as we went to Disney on vacation as a family, and it actually worked out perfectly. Where our vacation, the last day was August 14th, and the program began. The check-in day was August 15th, which was a Monday. So you go in, and I think my check-in, my sister's was at like really early. It was like 8:30 or something. Mine was like 1:30, and it's super quick. Especially if you're one of the first people there, they give you your key and they take your picture. I still have my housing ID thing. I can actually show you my ID really quick. This is my housing ID. But anyway, so that's check-in day, and then you find your apartment for the first time, and you meet your roommates, and then that's pretty much the first day. And you can do whatever the hell you want after that. So fast forward to when you start working. I ended up in Epcot Outdoor Foods. So I was basically selling popcorn and pretzels and churros, that type of stuff for 8 hours a day. That was my job while I was there, and it wasn't the best job. I didn't really enjoy it that much, to be honest with you. It was kind of, you're out in the hot sun, and you're dealing with an endless amount of entitled guests, and it's like you're like 90% of the time you're completely alone at your own little stand. So, and you can't really go anywhere. You're just kind of standing there at the register and can't really do anything. So when training begins, for me I had a 2 week training period where every day I went in, I would meet my trainers, which was usually just one person actually, and it was like two other people with you. And you go to a certain stand and then maybe be there for like an hour or two and then go to a different one and so on. So training was it was a little bit scary at first because it's like, what the hell is this? You just don't know what to expect. Just like any job, it's just a completely new environment, and you don't know anyone obviously, and you're just kind of like a lost puppy in this whole big world of Disney. So then, yeah, that's a 2 week period, and then fast forward to the end of training, you have your assessment, which is just a written test, and you have to answer a bunch of questions, and you can't really fail it because if you get any questions wrong, they just go over it, and it's like, okay, cool, and then they just bring you to each stand, and they ask you a bunch of questions about it, make sure you know your stuff, and then that's it, and then you send it on your own. But then after that, it's pretty much just it's just uh, same thing every day. You go in, and how it worked for me at least, and I don't know how it worked for other locations or other jobs, but for me, I would go in, you'd go to punch in, and then they gave you your assignment, which was for me, it was like go to Ice Cream 2, which was one of the stands. You were either a cashier or a filler, which obviously is cashier. You're working the cashier. If you're a filler, you're getting different orders for the guests. You would go to your said stand and yeah, basically stand there for well, it was usually about 2 to 3 hours, and then they would send you on break, which was anywhere between 15 minutes and an hour, depending on how long you're there. Usually, if it was some of your shifts are gonna be like 6 hours, and in that case, you'll get a 15-minute break. Some of your shifts are a little over 8 hours, and those are usually hour-long breaks. Sometimes you had to open stands, which was agonizing because you had to go and you'd have to they had these big drink coolers with like different slots, and like bottled drinks would go in them, and you'd pour ice in them, and then you would wheel those out, and then you'd have to get a bunch of other stuff. And you had to get a radio, so you needed a radio with you if you needed to call the base for if you needed help with something. I actually preferred closing over opening because at least like when you closed, it's like you at least then like because when you're opening you do all this work and it's like you still have the whole day ahead of you. But when you're closing, it's like, okay, I'm like almost done. All I gotta do is this and this and that, and then I'm done. I can go home. So for closing, you would clean your stand, wipe everything down, that type of stuff, and then you would wheel that drink cart, and you would wheel that to your base, and you would take all like a bunch of other stuff back with you. You would count all your inventory, so like cups, I don't know, like leftover food that you have. So you had to count all of that. And then after that, you'd have to go and dig out all the drinks from that cooler. And then you had to count all of those. And then after that, you count all your money. They give you basically, so if you close the stand and the stand closes at 7, they'd give you an hour to close it. So you'd be scheduled till 8. In most cases, you're not out by 8. You're going to be out probably by like 8:30, 9 o'clock at the earliest. Now, a lot of people have questions about the whole calling out situation and the whole point system and all of that jazz. So let me get into that right now. So basically, how Disney's point system works is if you are late on a given day by even like so much as a second, you get half a point. If you call out, you get a whole point, and then basically 3 points equals one reprimand. And then 1 or 4 reprimands, you get terminated after 4 reprimands. I actually almost quit the program a couple times because I honestly it was just really stressful for me and I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't really want to do it that much to begin with, so I just was like, screw it, man. Like, this is not for me. The thing is, you can get into the parks for free, but I never wanted to go to the parks because I was always either too tired or too like depressed. Because I was really homesick, and I just hated my job, and I didn't really like my roommates at first because I didn't really feel like I fit in with them. But we ended up becoming really good friends by the end of the program, which was cool. But at first, the first couple of months, I just really felt out of place. I didn't feel like I fit in with them. I hated my job. I just wasn't happy. I ended up becoming really, really depressed because I was just really unhappy. I wasn't at home. I wasn't with my family. I wasn't with my dog. Any of that, I was just so far out of my element, out of my natural habitat that I was just like, my mind was just like, I liked my roommates a lot. They ended up becoming really, really good friends with me and everything. But it was the program itself was for me, it was a very, very painful process. It was an interesting experience. I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad I stuck through it. I'm glad I didn't quit. That's for sure. Because I probably wouldn't. I'd be kicking myself right now if I quit. But I mean, it wasn't at all what I personally expected. It was very interesting experience. But I honestly, personally believe that if I can get through it, then anyone can get through it. Because my mind is very weird. Sometimes I end up like sometimes if I'm in a situation where I am exposed to a lot of stress or anxiety or whatever, my mind kind of blows it all out of proportion, and it ends up becoming a much bigger deal than it really is. And because of that, the stress that the program gave me ended up affecting me a lot more than it really should have. And it actually affected me post the program too. Ever since I got back, I've been trying to kind of recover from it. I'm still dealing with a lot of depression. But again, like, that's my personal experience. That's just the way I am. That's my mind. That's how my mind reacted to it. That's how my mind reacts to situations like that. But again, I would definitely say, if you're thinking about doing it, do it. I would tell you right now, absolutely do it. Because even me, even knowing the negative, a lot of the bad experiences I had, I still miss a lot of it. There are some days where I wake up and I do kind of wish I was back there, at least to hang out with my roommates, because my roommates and I, like, we ended up becoming really, really close. And I think there was a point where I was going to leave. I was like, I hadn't made up my mind, but they are the reason why I stayed, like, because I love those guys to death, and they were like brothers to me, and I didn't want to leave them. There was actually one night where I was hanging out with my roommate Kelby, and we were sitting on the couch, having a few beers, listening to some music, and I just started talking about how, like, because I was planning on leaving like the next week, and I remember I was just saying, like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna leave next week. Like, I'm gonna miss you guys too much. And he's like, man, you shouldn't leave, this and that. And he actually ended up talking me out of it. And that's the reason why I stayed, because of my roommates. I didn't want to leave them. And one of the things that they brought up, actually, that really hit home with me is that they might replace me. If I leave, they might replace me with someone else. And I didn't want to leave my roommates with someone else to replace me, because, how can you replace me, right? And that actually goes to show how powerful people can be. Because, yeah, again, like, it wasn't and there were a few coworkers too that I got pretty close with, a couple cute girls here and there, that type of thing. So at the end of the day, it was the people, obviously, that made me stay, especially my roommate. I would say, like, the most depressing day for me when I was there was probably Christmas, because I literally worked, I think I worked like 12:45 to 10 p.m. that day. And when I woke up, my roommates were already gone. They had gone to work or doing their own thing. And when I got home, no one was there either. I think everyone was either sleeping or they were still at work as well. So I literally had almost no one to hang out with on Christmas Day. I worked all day, dealt with entitled guests, that type of thing. And yeah, it was very, very depressing. But anyway, so Disney College Program was a hell of an experience. One thing you'll probably hear us all say, all of us former Disney College Program people, is that you meet a lot of great people there. You meet a ton of great people that kind of become like family to you. I mean, just like anywhere you go or any job you have or whatever the case may be, you're always going to meet pretty awesome people. So, I mean, considering that this is Disney we're talking about, it was pretty awesome. A lot of good people, a lot of, and you get your first chance to live on your own and everything. One thing I want to throw out there is how the money situation works and the payments and stuff. So basically, you get paid every single Thursday. It's not every 2 weeks. It's every single Thursday. I don't think I've ever heard anyone specify exactly how much money you make and how much they take out for rent and stuff. So I'm just going to tell you exactly how much. So each paycheck I got was usually between $200 and $300. And that's after they take out money for rent. And they automatically take out for me it was I think like $105 or $110 a week for rent. I mean, they take it out before it even hits your account, so you don't even notice. But yeah, so you basically have $200 to $300 to fool around with. You get paid a good amount for like a college student just looking for a good time, that type of thing. You get paid a pretty decent amount. A lot of people say you don't really get paid a lot, but those, I don't know. I mean, you don't get paid a ton, but I mean, you get. It's not like you're left with like $30. You have plenty of money to go to the parks and buy your cool merchandise and your pins and all that and drinks and food. There's a lot of rules and stuff you have to follow, but honestly, I don't think anyone really follows them. They do inspections too, which is they're really, really strict when it comes to inspections, which is kind of annoying. Like, you can't have any dishes in the sink. You can't have one little tiny speck of garbage in the garbage can. Everything has to be absolutely spotless. If there's anything I forgot to mention, maybe I'll do a follow-up video. Maybe I'll just talk about it in one of my next streams. Maybe I'll somehow put it in the comments or annotations somewhere around here. I hope I made this nice and informative for you. I tried to make this as non-biased and as straightforward. Just tell it how it is type of thing. So that's the Disney College Program for you. That's my personal experience. It was a good life experience. I learned a lot about myself. It was definitely, I don't regret it by any means. But yeah, so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. So thank you guys once again very much for watching this. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, you know what to do. And as always, I will see you next time. Later, Gators. So this is what you see when you first walk in. It's not too bad. I'm in the comments, by the way. I ended up in the 2-bedroom, 5 people package.